You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the Relationship Engineers, Jim Gulnick and LIsett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to 90 Day Soulmate with, where is she? LIsett and Jim. LIsett is traveling today, so you've got me. Today we're looking at 90 Day Soulmate, the book, Chapter 5, Looking in the Mirror. It talks about how relationships are founded not only on what you see and know about yourself, but what you learn and are able to appreciate about your partner. Today, we will be looking at multiple things to help back the information that self-concept, the clarity of self, and its importance in a relationship. You can't share yourself with somebody else if you don't know who you are. Number one, let's look at this. Self-concept, clarity in romantic relationships. That an increased self-concept clarity among partners predicts a variety of positive relationship outcomes. This is from a study. Relationship quality is improved, the satisfaction and commitment, as well as the investment and other correspondence that may facilitate relationship functioning. Meaning that it's not only your own internal communication that improves, but it allows the communication with your partner to improve once your self-clarity is improved. It only makes sense that you can only know someone else once you know yourself. It's hard to share yourself with someone else when you don't even know who you are in order to share yourself. Two people in a committed relationship knowing themselves very strongly is the key to good communication, not only verbal, but emotional. Let's continue on with this. What is self-clarity? What is self-concept clarity in a relationship? Well, let's look at self-concept clarity individually. One, it's consistent and confident, meaning that people would have a clear, you and I, would have a clear and consistent view of ourselves, which would then often translate into greater confidence in your own identity and your actions. So consistency and confidence in yourself, and then therefore in the resulting actions, you then are able to be trusted by your partner. They would start to learn and understand about what you do and how you react, and you the same with them. So that's why the consistent and confidence in not only your own behavior, but in your partner's behavior is very important. People who have good self-concept clarity are less likely to conform to the pressure of their peers and society, and they would look at their own internal guidance rather than societal guidance or expectations, because they have a strong sense of themselves. They will have confidence and they will stand by their personal beliefs and values when faced with situations, stress, everyday life. In result, they will get better relationship satisfaction. They They better communicate their needs and boundaries. They do this more clearly, and they're more likely to engage in authentic interactions because, again, as someone who would know themselves, they would now be able to clearly express how they feel, what their values are, what their beliefs to their not only partner, but to their friends, relationships, at work, wherever you are. Consistency, clarity in how you act. Self-concept clarity would have you have a coherence to your individual identity. You would have confidence about your attributes, and you would consistently and not only show these attributes consistently, but you would have stability in these over time. So if some people talk about personality traits, the big five, OCEAN, which stands for O, for openness to new experiences, C, conscientiousness, E, it's extroversion, A is your ability to get along with others, and then N is neuroticism. So the 5 personality traits sometimes are related to consistent personality traits over time, which in essence is related in a certain amount to self-concept clarity, knowing your personality, knowing your own traits, knowing how you act in certain situations. And remember that conscientiousness is one of the number one things that always relates to performance, to relationships, to interpersonal communication, that conscientiousness helps give rise to integrity and consistency in communication. Some of the mediating variables that were looked at in the study of self-concept clarity and romantic relationships were psychological well-being, that people were not stressed out or frazzled, that they had good self-esteem, that they had a good amount of identity construction, really analyzed themselves and knew who they were, and that prototype matching was, as they looked at something symbolically like them, they could match their traits to something else, which would then allow them to match their traits to someone else in a similarity way or in a complementary way. What are the benefits of having this high clarity? Better psychological adjustment and well-being. You would have desirable relationship outcomes. Your self-esteem would be positive. You'd have a positive effect, which means joy, contentment, interest, engagement, and pride in just general life. And you would have good result and understanding of the meaning in life, your meaning in life. And that would be opposed to somebody who had low self-concept clarity. That would result in reduced well-being, increased depression and loneliness. You would have insecure attachment, which would lead to anger, fear, anxiety, sadness, and depression, and also increased neuroticism and, we just said, anxiety. So having good self-concept tends to result in good positivity throughout life, as well as the opposite, which is low self-concept can lead to, as we said, anger, fear, sadness, and depression. Again, if you are a positive person, it's easier to be in a positive relationship than if you are having insecure attachment and you have low self-concept. It would lead to a lot of communication challenges, maybe miscommunication, not understanding the communication with others. Maybe that is a partner, maybe that's just a friend. So the results of all this is that with good self-concept clarity in romantic relationships, you would have higher relationship investment. You'd have probably a better likelihood of thinking that you're going to have a positive relationship. Therefore, you'll give more to the relationship. And guess what? You'll get more from the relationship. You'll have better relationship functioning. That with a high self-concept and being very, not high self-concept, but a good self-concept clarity, you'll have better ability to function in that relationship, and as a result, have higher satisfaction and commitment in that relationship. So that is the intro into the chapter, and the chapter that we will be dealing with today, as we talked about, is chapter 5 in the book 90 Day Soulmate, chapter 5, which begins on page 62, which is called Looking in the Mirror. It's, again, not only looking at yourself in the mirror to understand who you are and what you want in your life as well as your relationship, but looking at your soulmate as being a mirror of you, not exactly a direct reflection, but they can be a complement of who you are, what you want to be, and as LIsett and I spoke about before she took off, is having maybe a common goal that you achieve together by those complementary forces, each being able to help each other better get to where you are going. Welcome back to 90 Day Soulmate with LIsett, who is traveling today, and Jim. We're talking about Chapter 5 in the book, 90 Day Soulmate. And the Chapter 5 is about looking in the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at your relationship in the mirror, looking at your soul in the mirror. And is that who your soulmate is? The mirror of yourself. The main points of Chapter 5 are that self-awareness, we're just talking about self-concept clarity, but self-awareness is a foundation of a strong relationship, that the mutuality in relationships is important, and we'll discuss that in a minute, that past experiences will shape your present experiences and how you experience them, and that there needs to be commitment and compatibility in the relationship for it to flourish. So Chapter 5 continues on with self-awareness as a foundation. Understanding oneself is crucial for forming and sustaining healthy relationships. Without understanding yourself, there's no foundation. Recognizing personal values, triggers, and history informs better relationship choices and interactions. So that's a lot, and I know we talk about this a lot on the show. Knowing what your personal values are, what are your triggers, and what is your history can also inform yourself and your potential partners what would be a compatible relationship to you, what fits your communication style, your decision-making style, where you might get complementary support in areas that you're not so strong. For me, again, I may be a little bit more on the creative side when it comes to stuff, and LIsett may be more on the concrete side when it comes to stuff. So she'll be more directive. When are we doing this? When are we getting this done? This is our goal. And I'm more in the how we do it. So I'll have creative solutions on how to get it done. Maybe we go here instead of there. How about this? Where LIsett will be, we want to go there, but how we do that and then what's associated around that, we then discuss. And so these complementary pieces can only be there if you actually understand that you are different. You're not going to agree on perhaps the best method for figuring out something, but as long as you understand you have different methods and the end goal is the same, that's one of the most important things. Again, self-awareness is one of those main foundations of relationship success. The mutuality in relationships. The concept of sharing responsibility and energy in a relationship highlights the importance of both partners contributing to the relationship's health and dynamics equally. Anything that happens good, anything that happens bad, you need to take your responsibility for. LIsett and I always talk about that. It is a 50-50. It's actually probably 100-100. If you're both committed entirely to the relationship, you share fully in the results of things that you do. That if there's a problem in communication, you have to see, how was I responsible for LIsett misunderstanding me? It's not you misunderstood me. It's I must have said something in a way that led to the misunderstanding. Accept the responsibility, the 50-50 responsibility of the relationship. Past experiences shaping the present. That when you acknowledge and are able to learn from past relationships and your upbringing, it can inform not only you on how come you react certain ways in your current relationship, but it can help transform your current relationship in a more in-depth, down-deep, communicative relationship. The behaviors, choices that you make are better understood. It can also foster growth and help in better decision-making in the relationship. Also, decisions in a current relationship or decisions in choosing a partner that better fits your past experiences, and understanding that's why you may have certain triggers. And finally, we talk about commitment and compatibility, that recognizing commitment levels, that they may be different between the two partners, seeking compatibility based on self-knowledge and mutual growth prospects are key for long-term relationship satisfaction and success. LIsett and I talk also about when we met, I was living in a 400 square foot apartment in Dallas, having just lost my home. And she didn't look at that as being the current state of who I was, but she looked at what the potential was in the relationship, in the compatibility, in our future together, and in the growth and what we could achieve together, not, oh, this is where you are now. And when you look at, is the person that you are going to want to spend time with somebody who's compatible in growth, having similar goals in growth? Not just today is the person that's exciting, but 2 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, if that's what you're looking for, that there's that growth potential that you two can achieve things together that you wouldn't have been able to do on your own, or that you'll just enjoy the heck out of doing that growth with that person. So that is the fourth piece to this chapter. Summary of all that is self-awareness, mutual responsibility, learning from the past, commitment to compatibility can take two people from where they are to a growing, stronger relationship. The first slide that we have of chapter 5 is in the introduction to self-reflection in relationships. The main point of this is, and it's the beginning of the chapter, is the importance of self-awareness and understanding personal history in forming relationships. We say this a lot because of the importance of it, that many, many studies on self-concept and relationship satisfaction point to the importance of this self-clarity, self-knowing, self-reflection, understanding the self first. So, how does our self-perception affect our ability to form healthy relationships? Interesting. I actually would have loved LIsett to be here for these questions, but how does the self-perception that we have impact all that? Well, some of the answers are: improved self-awareness leads to clearer communication of needs and boundaries. Again, having that open discussion, it's like almost deciding what game you're playing. If you don't know the rules, if you don't know what is a need and a boundary of the other person, it's like not knowing what game you're playing before you play the game. If you go to play a sport and you get there and they've got a baseball bat and a soccer ball, and somebody's got a tennis racket in their hand, well, what sport are you playing? And you can all go to this game, and if you don't know what it is, it's going to be hard to get on the same page and know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in this sport of romantic partnership. Understanding personal triggers, my own, helps in managing conflicts more constructively. So, again, a personal trigger for me is potentially my mom used to question me a lot, especially at night when I got home late and I was tired, and I would just get frustrated because I was tired and I didn't know how to communicate. And so nowadays, if LIsett would come to me and want to talk about something late at night when I'm tired, I might get triggered into this childhood mood, and I might start acting like a child rather than an adult. And so I've learned and spoken with LIsett about this is, hey, at night when it's late, let's discuss anything important after we're both well rested, which, it almost seems obvious. And then finally, self-reflection enables personal growth, enhancing relationship quality over time. That when you reflect, maybe the areas you want to grow in, And when you grow in those areas, and they are in an effort to grow in maybe communication and how you get along with each other on things you like, on things they like, it will enhance the relationship. We also bring up this thing called the puzzle piece metaphor. It's puzzles that fit together. Puzzles don't fit together because they're the same. Puzzles fit together because there's a piece of one puzzle missing that really wants the piece of the other puzzle to be whole and complete. It doesn't necessarily mean man-woman, but it may mean something like we talked about before, creative versus concrete. It may be planning versus extemporaneous. It may be different qualities that fit together to make a stronger whole. Finding a compatible partner is like finding a matching puzzle piece. Matching means one that fits, not one that is the same. Psychological research on compatibility and relationship longevity, that compatibility turns into relationship longevity. So the question is, can knowing yourself improve your chances of finding a compatible partner? The answer is, of course. But here's some of the answers. Yes, self-knowledge can help identify non-negotiables in relationships. So we talked about things you don't care about, things you would negotiate and accept any answer for, and then things that are non-negotiable. Self-awareness facilitates better understanding of potential compatibility issues. They like the Yankees, you like the Mets. I don't know what it is. It encourages focusing on complementary rather than seeking an identical match. Again, thinking of the puzzle piece, look at something that fits you complementary and not is an exact match. Your personal history's role in a relationship. How does family upbringing and personal experiences shape relationship expectations? So there is a huge influence of family dynamics on adult relationships. I'm referencing Family Influence on Adult Relationships in Journal of Marriage and Family. So there's lots of research on this. How does our family upbringing influence our choice of partners? Question, how does that? Well, some of the answers. Family dynamics teach us about love and conflict resolution. Oh my. So in an upcoming episode, we're working on different styles of showing love. It's our version of what I want to call the love languages. But this is some of the ways we've seen love growing up. It's not our own how we prefer, but it's what we learned growing up. So the family dynamics would be, again, we talked about this, that my mom and dad never argued. So I expect a loving relationship to never argue. Whereas somebody else's mom and dad argued all the time, came to a conclusion, and then showed love to each other. So in their upbringing, they saw that arguing was part of showing love. You wanted to clearly communicate your own thoughts, your own beliefs, how you felt about something, work it out, and get to a mutual understanding. And then if those two people get together in a relationship, the one who thinks never argue, and that's how you show love, and the other is air out all your grievances and come to a conclusion that's mutually acceptable, they get together, and one doesn't do what the other does, they don't love me. And if you understood that of your partner before getting in too deep into the relationship, you could decide, is that not negotiable? Or, you know what? Can both of us agree that we have different processes, different programs and patterns, and we can work through this? Early experiences can dictate attachment styles affecting adult relationships. Again, just like we were talking about. Being conscious of our upbringing allows us to choose differently if desired. This was something that we do talk about, is that you can embrace how you were brought up and go, that's what I want, Or maybe that made you feel bad. My parents arguing made me feel bad. I don't want that in my relationship, so I'm going to move away from that style, and I'm going to change the style based upon how I feel, and I know that style. So I'm going to now be able to make a better choice in my next relationship by saying, instead of thinking that when I meet somebody who's arguing with me, that's loving, I can say to myself, hey, that's what I don't want anymore. That's how I grew up. I want one where we don't argue, maybe we discuss, and we have a different level. So again, some of the self-analysis that's done in 90 Day Soulmate is to determine what is your style, what is your upbringing, and do you want to embrace that, or do you want to change that and choose something differently? And we come back, we'll talk more about Chapter 5 in 90 Day Soulmate.
Tired of attracting the wrong type of guy, it was time to give something else a try. She got her computer and started to plan, and created a process to find her man. Soon she went on a perfect date, and then she knew it must be fate. In just 90 days, that is all it took. How she found her match? It is in the book.
90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions.
Welcome back to 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett and Jim. Again, Lisett is traveling. I think she's over here somewhere, just staring over my shoulder to make sure that I am including her in today's conversation as much as I can. Today we're talking about Chapter 5 in 90 Day Soulmate. Again, the book of love that was written over 10 years ago. Looking in the Mirror is the name of the chapter. What we're doing over time is, as we learn more and more about the psychological aspects that were the foundation of this book, that we didn't even know were the foundation of this book, we're supporting this book with the evidence we're learning and finding out, which turns out to be it's right on point. So it's a great, simple read, quick read with little charts, graphs, and practical exercises that can help you determine who you are, what you want in a relationship, and better have better relationships and better have better communication within those relationships. Number 4 point of Chapter 5 is understanding and accepting partner histories. So, the significance of knowing and understanding a partner's history for relationship success. The sooner you can understand their background and their history and their histories of relationships, the better you can understand how they communicate and their styles. Studies on transparency and its effects on relationship depth. So being transparent in communication helps you connect deeper. And we talk about the iceberg as an example of a relationship, that when you meet somebody, you see what they project above the water. And it's only through transparency of the water where you get to see deeply into their soul, their patterns, and their programs that you can start to connect. So when those two icebergs collide, they actually know what they're getting into, and it's not a surprise. So transparency and understanding early on in a relationship helps you not only learn more about your partner, but in understanding their patterns and programs, you can decide, again, is this non-negotiable? I don't want that. Or, you know what? I understand them. I love them. I understand how they communicate and why they do what they do. So I want to keep going with this relationship. How important is it to understand a partner's past for a healthy relationship? Very, very important. Let's look at the answers that we came up with. Well, understanding the partner's relationship, your partner's relationship, and accepting them, it will foster empathy and deeper emotional connections. You know, as we talked about the iceberg under the water, you'll connect down there and you'll become one big iceberg. Understanding helps in navigating triggers and emotional responses. You then start to understand and know why they're reacting in certain ways. And in accepting that, it helps build a stronger relationship and changes how you would react. So if you understand each other's triggers, you can talk around them, and you can also say, oh, I understand what I just did there. I'm really sorry. Let's rephrase, let's regroup, let's relax and come back later when we're both at the right state of mind to have a good communication about whatever we're talking about. And then finally, acceptance of past history builds a foundation of trust. And you either just have to accept or you don't. If you don't accept the past history, there may be never getting over that. And you have to decide, is that a deal breaker? Is that a non-negotiable? Number 5, the impact of past experiences. Past experiences shape who we are and how we approach relationships. Research on the impact of past relationships on present relationship dynamics, that past relationships shape how we react in new relationships, also how we get in new relationships. So when we have a relationship that starts off good and turns bad, we may mimic the beginning of that relationship with the next relationship and end up with the same person, same type of person, that would lead to another bad relationship. But we don't recognize potentially somebody not like that pattern. And we've gone into this in depth before. The point being is that we may not recognize really compatible people because they don't trigger the things in us that we say, oh, that fits our pattern of upbringing and past relationships of what we think is love, when it turns out to be it's what we know rather than what is possible. So we have to look at the possibilities of what might be there if we really look in deep into ourselves and what we want and realize we can avoid these relationship traps, meaning we see somebody, we are attracted to them, we really don't know why, and then it turns out the reason we were attracted to them is they reminded us of that girlfriend, boyfriend we had 20 years ago that ended up in a bad relationship, but we forgot. Because we are always so positive about these relationships are all going to work out. We also have a tendency of not wanting to spend a lot of time figuring out who we are and what we want in a relationship. We think for thousands and millions of years, people have been getting together and having relationships. But today, there's more information, more knowledge, more things to do, more conversations. Relationships are more complex than ever. And plus, we live longer than 30 years. And, millions of years ago, people are living 30, 35 years, and that's old age. Well, your relationship can be very short. In fact, you only have a couple of words you can say because you never learned many words. There's not a lot of communication. Much different than today, where there's so much information out there, so many things to communicate, so many complications in our lives, that it's very important to have a full and fair understanding of who you are and who your partner may be, so you can have that clear communication. So, to what extent should past relationships influence our current ones? Well, they provide lessons that can help guide current relationship decisions. So really, they're important in helping us figure out our future relationships. Past experiences can either be a source of strength or a trigger for insecurities. So know what they are, so you can know what to avoid and what to work on. Recognizing patterns helps in making conscious choices rather than repeating history. And as we said again, is that if you know what happened in the past, you can choose not to repeat it. The 50-50 energy concept, and we brought that up at the beginning of this program, is that two people in a relationship share responsibility in creating relationship dynamics. If either person will not take responsibility, then that leads to bad communication, bad relationship. There's really nowhere to go. Both have to be in the relationship together. Studies on mutual influence in relationships and shared responsibility show that when there is shared responsibility, there's a shared commitment and a conscientiousness that you have a responsibility in moving that relationship forward. And we talked about growth, that it's just not this relationship today, it's, are you compatible? Are you complementary to fit together to move forward, and that you're going to both share in what that is. Whether that's hey, a year from now we want to take a vacation and go somewhere, to I want to dig a hole in the backyard and plant a tree, and I want that tree to grow, and in 20 years I want to put a bench in front of it, and then you and I are going to sit on that bench and we're going to enjoy a nice tea in the summer breeze. That whatever that long-term commitment plan and program that you have for yourselves as a couple, or with your partner, or even for yourself, is knowing that those people that you have around you are going to either help you get to that, support you getting there, be complementary in their experiences and strengths, or they may drag you in a different direction and not want to go where you want to go. And then do you want that for your, quote, long-term forever relationship? How do both partners contribute to the energy of a relationship? Both partners contribute to the relationship's emotional tone. If one's a hothead and one's cool, well, maybe they can work through that, maybe not, if they know whatever each other's triggers are. But in any case, all the emotional tone of that relationship comes from the two. It's like two notes on a piano. Shared responsibilities mean acknowledging the impact of one's actions of the relationship, meaning that with shared responsibility, we have these shared responsibilities, whatever that is for the relationship, that if either doesn't do or does do, there's an impact and a result, and recognizing that is very important. Mutual effort in understanding and supporting each other fosters a balanced partnership. A few episodes ago, we talked about individual growth. And as two individuals grow in a relationship, it strengthens the relationship. Recognizing, supporting, and understanding what that growth is in your partner can help develop and build a stronger, balanced partnership. How do personalities adapt and reflect, or how they adapt and reflect, is based on the interaction with partners. So research on personality adaptation in close relationships show that if personalities can either adapt to be accepting of the other, like for instance, I may be a little bit more, say, not excited about doing things than my partner, but they're excited about doing things, and I adapt a new personality to fit with theirs, where I start to become excited with them to do this thing. And so now my personality, my behaviors are adapting and changing to fit with my partners. This always happens in a new relationship. You can go from being more of somebody who likes to go out and hike to somebody who likes to go and sail, depending on who you're with. That your personality, your behaviors will adapt differently to whom you're with. Just with everyone you're with. There's somebody that you joke more with, and somebody you're more serious with, and somebody you're very kind to because they're very sweet, and somebody you have to be a little bit more rough to because, you grew up in New Jersey and you're like, hey, what's going on? And if you did that to this sweet person, they'd be like, whoa. So you're always constantly adapting your personality to whom you're with. And this is talking about that 50-50 energy we talk about, is that's an emotional tone of a relationship with anybody you're with. How does our personality change in the presence of different partners? Well, let's look at that. Personal growth can occur as partners influence and inspire each other. So that's one way that a partner can change our behavior. Is, say my partner wants to go ballroom dancing and I've never even thought of it, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And now you try something that they like, and maybe you start enjoying it, and it's something you would have never have done except if it weren't for that person. And now the same thing is that I like going to the gym and working out, and my partner, LIsett, has always done some exercise, but now we do it together and regularly. In fact, we have a lot of our own, little individual gym equipment because we enjoy doing it. So those are things that change, and as you adapt and have personal growth. So I've learned more about different things, like we've learned more about psychology because that's been a personal growth thing since LIsett came up with the process and plan for finding a soulmate. Research then into why this works became part of my life, and now I've had personal growth in that area because of it. Individuals may adapt their behaviors to better align with their partner's needs. So, again, if my partner needs me not to react so much and to be more calm in conversation with them because they if I found out that maybe their parents were a little bit harsh with them when they were a child, or they've had bad relationships where they came from an abusive relationship or abusive household growing up, I may decidedly change how I interact with them, knowing their background. And so knowing their background deeply helps each of us, right? So if I know LIsett's background deeply, it helps me understand how best to connect and communicate with her. And my behaviors can change. Every different partner can highlight various facets of our personality. We're not, singularly dimensional. We're multidimensional people. We have all these likes. In fact, again, with neuroplasticity in our brain, with emotions pushing us, we're complex creatures. And with these complexities come the ability to mold ourselves in different directions depending on who we are. And when we come back on 90 Day Soulmate, we'll talk more about Chapter 5.
Here we have 90 Day Soulmate, How to Find Your Perfect Match in 90 Days by LIsett Guevara and Jim Gulnick.
Welcome back to 90 Day Soulmate with LIsett and Jim. Slide 8 is The Mirror of Your Soul from Chapter 5 in the book. The main point is seek a soulmate who reflects and complements your own growth and goals. Again, doesn't have to be directly the same mirror image of you, but has to complement and help and assist in ways and areas that maybe make you stronger together. Studies show the concept of soulmates and personal growth within relationships are kind of intertwined, is that soulmates will help the other become more strong at the things that they want to excel at. How can a partner act as a mirror to her own soul? Let's look at the answer to that question. How can a partner act as a mirror to our own soul? A soulmate encourages and challenges us to be our best selves. So not only are they there encouraging, but they may challenge us. They may push us. They may help us grow and expand. Reflection through a partner can reveal both strengths and areas for growth. So reflection, when you have a partner to discuss things, they may put a couple of holes in your plan. They may ask some questions that you weren't thinking about. They can maybe knock you down, but they could maybe have you think about areas you are missing to make your ideas stronger, the areas that you're working in. And then complementary qualities in a partner can enhance personal development. Again, and if somebody is more well-read than the other, they may be able to access more information and share it with you. And if you are more of a physical person, you may test something out in reality while they read about it, and you're not really big on reading and they're not big on doing. And together, though, you have the research and you actually have the practical piece that fit together. Recognizing commitment levels. This is an interesting point. Identifying genuine interest and commitment levels early in a relationship is important And research on early indicators of relationship success or failures has to do with the interest levels. So if you find you're calling somebody and they're not calling you back, you're sending them text messages and they're not texting you back, a couple of things. Are you overdoing it versus does it seem like there's something going on here and they don't have the same commitment in the relationship? When you feel you're dragging somebody into a relationship, it's different than pursuing a relationship. You may be at the initial stages of pursuing, but once you start a little bit of a relationship, if you find you're still trying to pull them into a relationship, maybe there's just not the same amount of commitment. So recognizing commitment level early on in a relationship is important to not waste time with somebody who's incompatible. Also, getting to know somebody deeply early on by sharing a bit about your upbringing and your past relationships, having that self-clarity in your own concept where you can share this with them, allows you to connect quickly. And if you find out you're incompatible, you'll learn it faster if you try that open communication. So what signs indicate a genuine commitment in a relationship? Well, consistent effort in communication and spending quality time together. If there's not an effort in communication, if they're avoiding spending time together, there potentially is a different level of commitment in that relationship. How about something comes up and you're struggling through it and you've got a conflict and they're not willing to work through challenges and conflicts? Well, if they are willing to work through challenges and conflicts with you, they're invested and committed to the relationship. And LIsett and I also talked about this before the show. Having shared visions and goals for the future indicate a deep level of commitment, because it's not only commitment right now, but it's looking, if it's a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, and you're planning something together with that person, there is a deep commitment from time and effort and communication to move forward. And so that is an easy way to recognize a commitment level. In conclusion, the journey of self-discovery is the beginning and important in finding a compatible partner. Also, in developing a deeper relationship with your partner that you have right now, is each understanding each other and yourself very strong. Summarizing research on self-awareness, relationship satisfaction, and personal growth. So research summary on this is, again, that the more you know about yourself, the higher the relationship satisfaction is with a partner. Because the more you know about yourself, the more you can share yourself with your partner, and vice versa. It helps in personal growth as well, because you know where you are and where you want to go. How will increasing self-awareness impact future relationships? Self-awareness enhances relationship satisfaction and resilience. Ongoing self-reflection contributes to a more fulfilling partnership. And understanding oneself and one's partner leads to deeply and deeper intimacy and connection. Again, knowing yourself allows you to know someone else. You need to know yourself before you know someone else. Moving forward, what do we do? What do we do? How do we strengthen our own relationship or have better relationships? Number one, embrace self-reflection. Regularly engage in self-reflection to understand your needs, desires, and areas for growth. This self-awareness will help you communicate more effectively and seek relationships and understanding that are based upon your desires and being able to share them with your partner. Acknowledge and learn from the past. Number two, reflect on past relationships and personal history to identify patterns or behaviors that may impact current or future relationships. Use these insights to make conscious choices that align with your relationship goals. Number three, how to move forward. Cultivate open communication. Once you know all this information about yourself, communicate it. Foster an environment where open and honest communication is the norm. Discuss expectations, experiences, and feelings with your partner to build a strong foundation of trust and mutual understanding. And lastly, work on mutual growth. Encourage and support mutual growth within your relationship. Have co-goals. Co-create something new. Engage in activities that promote personal and collective development, ensuring that both partners are evolving together and individually in your relationship. What you will do and receive by doing this is you will have fulfilling and resilient relationships. You'll form a foundation of mutual respect. You'll have deep understanding of each other, and you will have shared growth and self-actualization. What's better than that in a relationship? Thank you for listening to 90 Day Soulmate with LIsett and Jim. Have a great week.
You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the relationship engineers, Jim Gulnick and LIsett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.